Hello people! Today I'm doing my first Christmas set of the season, and it is called Gilded Poinsettias, or Poinsettias, whatever. Anyway, I forgot to hit record when I put the white on, so that's what I used for it. Moving on, this red glitter from Beetles. This is my second voiceover on this. I don't know what happened to the first one. I saved it and I went to do something with it and the audio was gone. So after 45 minutes, now I got to do the whole thing again. And I'm not a happy camper. Anyway, let's do this again. Okay, once I get my finger from underneath there, hopefully have that not flip around and touch the white that's still wet. Okay, we're going to cure those now. And now we're going in with the second coat. Hope you guys all had a good Thanksgiving. Got to spend time with your families if that's what you wanted to do. Or friends, either one. We went out to my folks for Thanksgiving. Normally we do Thanksgiving at our house, but I did not feel like my dad could navigate the steps outside the front of our place to get up here, so we did it at their house. So we took everything out, we cooked the whole meal and did all that, so Mom didn't have to do anything. Although that did not keep her out of the kitchen from micromanaging, but it was what it was. Alright, now those are cured. Now I've got base coat. I'm going to go in and I'm going to go over the top third of the nail. The top 2/3 of the nail. My brain is fried, you guys, because I'm doing this again after I just did it. Oh, okay, I've got iridescent chunky glitter. Now I'm going to go within just a little sprinkling of this on the top. I didn't want my white to be full on just plain white. I wanted to have a little bit of something on there. Now I've used this method on other nails where I've left the nails at the end matte top with the glitter in the background with this iridescent glitter, and it looks pretty cool. I like it. Just gives it a little bit of something. This is not going to be matted. This is going to be glossed, so you're going to see it a bit more than what you would, but it's not going to be as bright as it looks right now. While you're watching me do this, I do have some sad news to report. My dad's not doing well again now. He's had a couple of falls, and his circulation is bad. His blood pressure has been really low. I mean really low. There was one day last week, I guess my mom had to call the hospice people to come out. A nurse came out eventually. They didn't rush to get there. Okay, hang on. This is base coat. We're going in with that. We've cured the glitter onto there. Now we're going to go over it with a hefty layer of base coat. And after this, we're going to go again after it's cured with a hefty layer of top coat. Okay, back to my story. His hands and feet were totally blue. So, of course, my mom was panicking, which I can't blame her. But when they eventually came out, the nurse could not even get a blood pressure reading. That's how low it was. So she had to do a bunch of stuff to get it up to a point where she could get a reading. So now he's having these dizzy spells, and his circulation is low. So we're afraid he's going to fall again, because he does not listen or follow directions at all. Like if my mom's got to do something, and she'll tell him, okay, don't get out of your chair. I'll be right back in like 5 minutes. He won't listen. If he wants something, he'll try to get up. And that's how we're having all these situations. So now we're back to he can't be alone again. Somebody's got to be with him all the time. Okay, I'm going to hold that upside down and let that run to the center. Okay, I've cured it, and now we're going to do the file and buff routine on here. Don't worry if you file through any of these glitters. You're not going to see that. It's not going to be noticeable, and it's not going to matter. I just wanted to smooth these off and make sure that they are nice and velvety smooth, which I'm going to do. I'll do the rest off camera. I'm just showing you this one. You know, this kind of iridescent glitter is nice for filing, and because if you file it off, it doesn't matter that much. Not like the metallic glitters that if you file off part of it, then you've got a silver part showing, and that usually looks crappy. Okay, once I get all of them done, which I will do the rest off camera, then I'm going to give them a wipe down with some alcohol to get all the dust off there that I just created from filing. And now we're going to move on to the French tips. I'm doing all the French tips as you guys have already seen with the red glitter. Now I'm just going to put some on my palette, and very quickly you're going to see something go wrong, and I'm going to screw this first one up, which is why I do not like working with red, especially with a white background under it. Okay, I'm going to mark in where I want my smile line to be, the bottom and the corners. The two top edges and the middle, I'm going to mark those on so I have a guideline. Now, this is where I screwed up. My brush is going to slip, and I'm going to have a situation. See, now I got to clean that off, and it's going to stain that. I'm not going to be able to get it completely, totally cleaned off of there. Now, I'm just using alcohol. It did not occur to me when I was doing this to try acetone to see if that would do a better job. So it's not going to be a critical thing for this situation because we're going to be covering that over. Where the stained part is that I can't end up getting off, we're going to cover that over with the poinsettia when we get that far. So it's not horrible. Okay, now we're just going to get our smile line on here. I'm going to slow down and be more careful so I don't have any more incidents of slipping like that. Now the smile line does not have to be perfect because we're going to give it an outline like with gold glitter. And also, if there's any imperfections that are really bad, we can cover those up with the flowers. So don't stress too horribly much about it for a case like this. Once I get this on here and I'm happy with the smile line, and if I'm happy that it's good enough for what we're doing, then I'm going to fill in the bottom part of there with my bottle brush, but I just want to go around the smile line area with the striper brush so I can try to keep it somewhat neat. Okay, we're just going to fill that right in. Okay, I'm going to clean up this over here a little bit, even though I really didn't need to because we're going to be covering that area anyway. But just for my own peace of mind. Okay, now I put the rest of the nails on the rack next to this one. It's not cured yet. And I'm going to mark in where they are so I can get them all to be of a uniform, the red French part. I want to make sure they're uniform because normally I just eyeball them, but if I'm working on shorter nails, I can usually do that okay. But being that these are longer, I wanted to make sure that the French part is going to be fairly close to the same, the same on each nail. And that's the easiest way for me to do it, is just line them all up there and put some guide marks on there. Now this one's got kind of a squared off edge on that right side. Again, I'm not going to stress over it too much because I can fix some of that with the gold glitter line that's going to go on there. And if it's too horribly bad, I can cover it with a flower. That's always an option. If you mess something up and it's not something that's easily fixable, cover it up with something. In this case, it'll be flowers. You can do that with glitter, stickers, decals, any number of things. Enhancements, crystals. And believe me, I've done all of that on stuff when I've screwed things up. Especially if you're working with chrome. If you got a full chrome nail and there's anything on there that's going to create, there's any kind of a flaw at all, and it picks that up, and you're going to have those on there. Here's another screw up now. That one happened when I was putting the last nail back on the rack, and it spun around and touched this one. There's also red is down in there farther where I did it on that part too. Now this set took me 2 afternoons to do because I got kind of a late start the first day. So I got them as far done as, well, I think as far done as getting the glitter line on there, and that's where I think I stopped. As I only have a couple hours in the afternoons to work on these, and lately I had been getting them done in one day, unless it's my own nails. That's always a 2-day job. But this one took me a bit longer. Hence the reason this video is so much longer than they normally are. Okay, I'm using this gold glitter mud gel from Venalisa for my smile line. I did stir that up somewhat. It didn't look like it, but I haven't used this one in a good while, so I needed to do a mix-up on that. Now this being mud gel is a lot thicker than your gel paint you're going to normally would be working with. And a lot of this gold line a lot of this is going to be covered up anyway, so not all of it will show, but this is where it needs to go on. Because at this point, I did not know exactly where I was going to be putting the flowers. I knew some of them were going to be covering up part of the smile line and some weren't. So you got to just get it on the whole thing. But there we have that one. Okay, I believe I've sped the rest of these up now. Sorry guys, I'm a bit talked out. I talked myself silly on the first take of this, and now I'm realizing I guess I don't have a lot to say, and I don't remember everything I said, so I'm just having to wing it on here. One thing, I was going to post a picture of Lilith at the end of here, our new kitty. But I forgot again. So she's not on here yet. Hopefully next time I'll remember. My brain is really frazzled with all the Thanksgiving stuff, and now I'm going to be into the Christmas rush. I've got a whole slew of Christmas stuff I need to make for people for gifts, and I've got a craft show coming up here in a couple weeks that I need to have a bunch of stuff finished for that I've frantically been working on. So I don't really have time to be doing this twice, but I don't have a choice now. Okay, we've got all those on. We're ready to cure that now. And there we go. And right there is where that stain is on there from where I couldn't get that wiped off. So that's where we're going to put the flower. Now this is carving gel, clay gel, 5D, 4D, 9D, whatever D it is, carving gel. Clay dough. I mean, it goes by many different names depending on the brand. I like working with it. It's fun to do for me. This is obviously the next day now that I did these because now I don't have gloves on, which kind of was a good stopping place because this doesn't work well if I'm using it and having to do stuff with gloves because it likes to stick to them and it's a pain. So I'm going to make 5 little balls. Well, there's some of them. You want to make them a little smaller than what you think you're going to need, because once you get them on the nail and you start to flatten them out and get your shape going, it always ends up being bigger than I was planning on because the little balls were bigger than I really needed. So I tried to make them smaller this time. Some of the flowers came out still bigger than I would have liked. Also, I'm going to put alcohol down first before I stick this down on there because that will help it to adhere better. And then we're just going to flatten it out into some semblance of a petal shape and drag it out to kind of a point at the end. As these are poinsettias, they need to have that pointy bit. Now, I didn't do anything extra to give these poinsettia petals any kind of, like if it's a leaf, you have the veins in there. I didn't do any of that on these. I just flattened them and shaped them. And they kind of had that look to the center anyway by the time I was done. I don't know how that happened, but it just did. So basically, we're just doing these the same as the leaves. They just don't have the leaf veins in them. And I need to keep wiping my silicone tool off because it was picking up red off of the red clay. And then that red was smearing onto the nail. And I didn't want it staining any more than it already was because I've already covered up the part where the stain was. So I had to keep wiping that off and keeping my tool cleaned off so I wasn't spreading it around. Worse than normal. Okay, I'm cleaning that off again. Well, maybe not. It doesn't look that clean now that I'm looking at it. I don't know what I was doing. This one, for some reason, did not want to stay stuck down to the nail. It wanted to keep popping up. So at some point you're going to see me get some more alcohol and shove it underneath that one. Probably right here. Yeah, I just dipped the end of that into alcohol and I'm just going to put a little bit under there. Smoosh it back down. And hopefully it will stay put. If it splits on you like that, just shove it back together. This stuff is not the same as the clear gel that you've seen me build flowers with as well. This is more of a clay consistency. The other stuff is just more of a thick gel that's not sticky. If you guys have worked with these things, you'll get what I mean. I don't know how else to explain it. This is more solid clay type and crumbly. The other one is more like jelly, but thick and not sticky to it. All right, this one you're seeing me go in real time, so you're seeing about how long it takes to do this. After this, I'm going to show you one more, and I'm going to speed that one up so it won't take as long. They really didn't take that long in the in the big scheme of things here. Once you get going with them, they go like faster and faster because you get used to doing it and you get more proficient with it. Now this one I'm just going to leave flattened off at the edge because I don't want an edge part sticking out over the side of the nail. Not that anybody's going to wear these anyway, but still. And I want to make sure I leave a hole in the middle because I'm going to put a crystal in there. Okay, and once I'm happy with this, we're going to move on to the leaves. Alright, I'm going to do a little more cleanup on there where there's a little red that I didn't like on there. Okay, now we're going to move on to the leaves. Alright, now this green is a lot brighter green than I really wanted. This is more like a Kelly green, I think. And that is a little too green for what I wanted for this. So I'm going to mix in a little bit of brown with this green to dull out the green and make it a little darker. So just know you can do that. If you don't have the color you want, you got your basic colors in your clay gels. You can mix them together to get other shades of the colors. Excuse me. Starting to go hoarse here. I've been talking too much this afternoon. And we're just going to smoosh it up until we get the colors mixed together and we end up with a uniform green again. You could use a couple different, 2-3 different shades of green and smush them up partially so they're not fully blended together, and you'll have variegated leaf colors or whatever you're making with it. Okay. That would look kind of cool, but not in this instance. I wanted it to be a uniform color, but what springs to mind is if you were doing like a pothos leaves for a pothos plant, which are yellow and green usually. You could mix green and yellow, but just don't thoroughly mix them, and then you would have that speckly or green and yellow for your leaves. Just an idea. Okay, and the leaves we're going to put on, we're going to do them the same as we just did the petals. We're going to shape them the same and everything. The only thing that's going to be different is we're going to put leaf veins in here. And I am going to use the back side of the other end of my cuticle pusher. And I'm just going to smush these lines down. Don't cut all the way through it. But if you do, just kind of smush it back together. And there we have a leaf. I'm going to do one more on this side. And that's all we're going to do on this one. Now I have not cured any of this yet, so when you're doing this, if you're doing this, be careful. You put your leaves on, you don't go and squish up your flower petals. And now I am going to just put my leaf veins in. And that one I cut through too far, so we're just going to squish them back together. And there you go. There we have it. That's all there is to it. Now I'm not curing this yet because I'm going to cure my whole rack at the same time. Okay, now obviously you can see I've sped this up. I'm going to show you one more, and then I'll do the rest off camera. Back to, while you're watching me do this, back to the story I was with my dad. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, because my mom is at a point where she's really weak. She can't deal with him. When he falls, she has to find somebody that can help get him up, because she can't do it. And I'm just feeling like I need to be out there on a more permanent basis, and I've been dragging my feet about that, because I don't, when I'm out there, I can't do the things I normally do that I need to be doing. Like, I can't do nail stuff out there. I can't work on resin stuff. Some of my clay stuff I could probably manage, but I just have too many balls in the air right now, and I'm juggling too many different projects and things that I can't be having them. I have to get them done, at this point, so. Technically I could do nails out there, but I would have to drag so much stuff with me out there to do it that I'm used to having just at hand on my desk and when I'm here. And then if I run into a problem with something that I wanted to do, I don't have options to choose from to pivot and go in another direction. I can't just open up some of my drawers and look for something else to put in there if the thing I was doing didn't work. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think we're going to have to do something. I just don't know what. Plus, I got all my cats here I got to take care of, and I can't have them out there. And I miss them so much when I am out there. And as I've said on other occasions, okay, those are done. I'm going to cure those now for 2 minutes. Okay, now the next step is going to be, we're going back to the this gold glitter, and I'm just going to do a thin outline on all the flower petals, just on the outside edges of the petals. That's it, not on the leaves. But as I've said in the past, when I'm out there, I can only be around my mom for a certain amount of time, and then we're just at each other's throats, because we're completely different personalities, and she she's a micromanager for everything. If you go to the bathroom, she will be hollering through the door you should be wiping your ass. Sometimes it gets that bad, and I cannot deal with being micromanaged. And I try to have patience, but after being out there when I go out, I usually go out for a week at a time. And by about the third day, I've reached my limit of what I can deal with. And then I am not pleasant to be around, because, now I've got to be aggravated the whole time. So I just don't know what I'm going to do. I know they're going to need help, and I don't know what to do about it. I wish I had the money that I could have somebody coming in there on a daily basis to check on them and help out with stuff around the house and that, but I do not. Anyway, we'll have to figure something out. Now, after I get this gold on here and I get these cured, the next step that should have been top coat. Okay, after this is cured, top coating the entire nail and the flowers and leaves. That should have been next. I, however, jumped the gun and went directly from, after this step, I went directly to adding the embellishments and the crystals and that. So I screwed up. So if you guys are going to do something like this, after you get done with this step of outlining these and you cure them, That's when you really want to do your top coat. So this is a case of do what I say and not as I do, because I screwed up. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that hard doing the top coat, because I had to do it as the last step, and so I had to work around the crystals that are going to be on here. So it was just a nuisance. It wasn't the end of the world, but it was a nuisance. Next video after this one is going to be my own Christmas nails, of which I have no clue what I'm doing for them yet. So it will be Christmas again next time, but I don't know what it's going to be exactly. So I'm thinking I'm going to do snowflakes, but I don't know what I'm going to do that's going to be I don't want just plain old boring snowflakes on a boring colored background, blah, blah, blah. I want to do something. Something either with the background, or I'm going to do something. I don't know. I'm just not sure yet. Of course, between now and Monday, when I have to do them, I may change my mind and do something completely different. I don't know. That's how I roll. Usually what I like to do is come up with an idea, pull all the stuff I need for it, and let it sit on my desk. And as I'm doing other things, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about that. And usually what happens is I will come up with something better or something different, and I will have to change what I was going to do. So then I'll put away some of the stuff I had, pull out the new stuff, and I'll live with that for a bit. And I may change my mind again after that. I might not. It kind of depends on if I can come up, if I think of something better. Or as I'm scrolling, the social media and I'm seeing different sets, I might somebody might have done something that gives me a better idea for what I was going to do, and I might change it. That happens to me a lot. Especially if I don't have a solid plan at the beginning when I start planning something. Sometimes I've got sets planned out months in advance that I know what I want to do. I just need the season to be right. And other times I don't have any clue, and I'm just winging it. All right, those are getting cured. And like I said, now is when you want to do your top coat, which I failed to do. I have moved on to embellishments. We're going to use these gold Aurum crystals. I call them crystals. They're not really glass crystals. They're metallic gold. These are the glass ones. These are red, just red, dark red. And some of these clears. Regular clears, not AB. Okay. The flowers are all going to have a crystal in the center, and I'm going to use one of those gold ones for that. And then this is being the thumbnail, I'm going to just add a cluster of random crystals up here in this corner. Okay, this is the little gold one going in the middle of there. And the end of my crystal picker upper was very loose and was about to fall off. I don't know how it got unscrewed, but there you go. Okay, that's in there. Now we're going to move over here to this corner. And I'm just going to start sticking stuff on there. I wanted to have these on there because the accent nail is going to have crystals, and I needed them to be somewhere else in the set so it will tie together and they don't just look like random crystals are on there and nowhere else. And also I'm not using caviar beads, which I don't often leave off. When I'm doing crystals, I normally like to do the caviar beads because I like the way they fill in some of the little gaps and they make it have a more finished look. I didn't use them because my gold caviar beads are like real bright, like yellowy gold. And with these gold Aurum crystals here, they're more like an antique gold, and I just didn't think they were going to look nice together. So that's why I did not do caviar beads in here, which is probably why I'm not happy with the way that the crystal bits came out on these, because they're not nicely finished off with those caviar beads in there. This little cluster of these became a large cluster because I don't know, I just wasn't liking the way it looked, so I just kept adding more and more. Alright, I think I'm going to pop a couple more on the ends of those long parts because I was not happy with how it was looking. And just when you think you're done, nope, I'm going to put some more. In hindsight, I'm wishing that I had just made that a smaller cluster just in that corner with like maybe 3 to 5 crystals, and that's it. Okay, I'm going to add one more onto the end of there. Excuse my arm. Now notice how that iridescent glitter, it's there, but it's not showing up a whole lot because that has not got the top coat yet. But that's how it will look if you're leaving it matted. So that's why I like to use that as a matte on the background color. I just like that little bit of sparkly, not shimmer, I guess, not sparkly, but shimmer that it has. Once I top coat it, then you're going to see it a lot more. I suppose I could have left the white part matte and just glossed out the rest of them, but too late now. Okay, this one is just getting a crystal in the middle. Okay, that going back up. Now this one's going to get 2 crystals because I left my gap way too big on here. And now we're on. I was going to use that, but then I figured that's way too big for that nail. So I'm just going to wing it on these, which, as I've said before, when I'm just winging something, it doesn't usually come out looking so great. I like to have some kind of a solid plan normally, because as I've said, I do change my mind a lot. So if I don't have a solid plan when I start, the odds of it coming out looking decent are not great. I need to let stuff percolate in my head for a while before I fine-tune it, and then I have a good plan. But in this case, that didn't happen. And this is sped up too, so I didn't want to make you guys have to sit through this longer than you have to. Okay, now I'm going to shove these all in so they're nicely bunched up there. You keep your crystals clustered together, they're not likely to come off. When you have them spread out like single crystals, let's say you did little daisies all over your nails spread out, and you just want one crystal in the center of each daisy, which is fine, you can do that, but just know that likely you're going to knock some of those off. And you're going to have to replace them as you go, because when they're spread out, they seem to come off. They get knocked off easily. If you keep them clustered up, very rarely do I ever have anything come off of mine. And usually if I do, it's because I was doing something stupid that I'm not normally doing, and you know, they've gotten knocked off from there. Now I added these other ones on the ends because I was not happy with how it was looking. I'm still not happy with the way it came out at the end, but I was tired of fooling with it and I didn't have any better ideas. I am going to add in a couple more. I think the problem was those gold ones and the red ones don't show up on that red glitter very well. So I kept adding more of the clear ones, just so I could, so this thing would have some kind of an outline to it, this whole cluster of stuff. So I thought maybe that would show up a little better. Once I'm done moving them around and I'm happy with their placement, then we can go ahead and cure this whole rack of stuff. Okay, and in they're going to go to cure. Here's where we are. And now it's top coating time for me. Although you guys, if you do this, you should have already done this part. So you would be done now. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this top on here. Now, I'm going to wipe my brush off after I get the bulk of the top coat on. And then I'm going to go back over the leaves and the flowers with a fairly dry brush and get any of that excess top coat out of those, because I don't want it pooling up in there. Because as I said, you will lose all your little definition lines, like in those leaves and whatnot, will disappear if your top coat's too thick in there. So I'm going to kind of scrub it back out, or go in with a fairly dry brush in the first place and scrub it into those things, and so you just have a very thin layer on there. Either way will work. And do not top coat your crystals. Avoid top coating your crystals. That's why you want to do this before you do the crystals, because now you got to be more careful. If you top coat over your crystals, you're going to have zero sparkle on them. And I mean zero. They will not sparkle at all. And we're almost done, guys. Almost done. Okay, I'm going to cure these here in a second, and then I'll be done. Okay, now we're done. All cured up. I like them. I think they turned out nice, except for the accent nail I'm not happy with, but it is what it is. Anyway, if you like them, please give me a like. I really appreciate it. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. I upload a new tutorial every Saturday. That's it for this week. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.